People are up in arms about the fact the Dodgers are in position to lose for the third time to a team that won 15 fewer games than them. I think the teams that won 92 games with all home games are 1-8 so far. So people are up in arms. I think it's a small sample size. I actually like this. I know you have a different. So why don't you tell us what your idea is for the proper format for the post? And by the way, I do like we're biased. At least I like that ghost runner in the regular season because we're on a deadline. But I know most people aren't.
Right.
Bob, just in transparency, in our A block before you joined us, this is exactly what we were talking about. And I do think that our sport tends to kill itself more than other sports. I pointed out the Miami Heat were the 8th seed last year. They went to the NBA Finals. People weren't ready to change the playoffs, right? A 4 and 5 seed played in the NCAA Finals. People talked about that as being a great part of March Madness. Mm-hmm. The Bengals went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago as a 6th seed. It's like, I don't understand why and by the way, the Astros were a number 1 seed last year and won the World Series. And this is the second year of this. Maybe we'll still get a number 1 seed to win a World Series. And why do we need a number 1 seed to win the World Series to feel good about a playoff format?
Yeah, but I think Bob is a different format, and I've heard it before. I can't remember it. It's complicated in my head right now. It's one of those things where I'm getting old, but I want to hear what your idea is, Bob.
Here's the reason why so many people react differently. Those other sports have no equivalent, not even close, of what used to be called a pennant race and of the long season. And the nature of baseball is that the differences between the best teams, the great but the good but the mediocre from the lousy, that generally plays itself out over a long period of time. If the 2 games we're just talking about between the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers happen in June, nobody bats an eye. In the postseason, I think you want the best, truest test possible within reason. Do you want something that guarantees the best team always wins? Of course not. Or that guarantees that the lesser teams during the regular season don't have a legitimate shot? Of course not. But I think you want a format that is weighted as much as practically possible with advantages for those that have done best over the regular season and appropriate disadvantages. Now, when I first laid it out with Chris Russo, it was slightly different than what I'm about to tell you now, because I think we need a nod toward the rest versus rust argument. I don't know that it always holds. If you asked any manager, would you rather have a bye and not have to subject yourself to the crapshoot of the wild card and run the risk that your team's a little rusty, or would you rather just play right away? 100 managers out of 100 would say, I'll take the bye. I don't want to risk being knocked out in the first round. So, but I think what you could do, as long as divisions matter, and they may not anymore if they get to 32 and you've got 14 divisions and 4 wild cards in a league or whatever the hell it's going to be. But for the moment, if you win the division, that ought to mean something, even if it's the 3rd best division, the Central in most seasons. So they shouldn't be in the wild card round. And if you're in the wild card round, even if you're the 2nd best team in the league, as sometimes happens, like the Dodgers a couple of years ago won 106, they're a wild card team. So you deserve, if you came in through the back door, to be subject to a bit of a crapshoot. But still, you can make distinctions among them. So I think the 2nd and 3rd wild cards, the 5th and 6th overall qualifiers, should play a 1-game knockout on the home field of the higher wild card. Yes, it's a crapshoot, but you're a wild card team. Television likes it. Fans, by and large, like it. The survivor of that goes to the home field of the best wild card. So that team only has to win 1 game. The other has to win 2 to get into the division series. And you could play them on Monday night and Tuesday night, and then you could start the division series on Thursday, so you wouldn't have this complaint about what I'm about to say, which is the division series needs to be best of 7. Now, I know that some people see this through the prism of fandom, and they're saying, oh, you don't want the Diamondbacks to win. No, if you think in the abstract, it has nothing to do with a particular season. It's like when I said that the overtime rule in the NFL was stupid, and it's like, oh, just because the Patriots won or just because the Chiefs lost? No, knucklehead. Look at it beyond the specifics of any given game or any given team. Look at it in the abstract. Why does it make any sense for the LCS and the World Series to be best of 7, but the round that includes potentially the 3rd best division winner and a wild card team, that's the one that's going to be the least true test? Make it best out of 7. And if you get to it quickly enough, then the World Series isn't going to go any deeper into November, and you don't have to cut the schedule back from 162, although you could cut it to 158 or 156 if you felt like it was necessary to accommodate it. And then whatever outcome you get, you're playing a postseason. You know, they don't play the World Series best of 20. So the Cleveland Indians, who went 111-43, can lose to Willie Mays and the Giants in 4 straight. Or the 1960 Pirates can get outscored, I think, 55-27 by the Yankees in the series, but still win it. That's part of the beauty of baseball. But you don't want a format that places lesser achievers on closer to an equal footing with the greater achievers during the regular season. So I'd say tweak it to that extent.